All right, so you guys have sent in a ton of stuff on the power of the subconscious mind, mostly from this book by Dr. Joseph Murphy.
Yeah, classic stuff.
So we're diving deep into all of it to try to figure out how our thoughts can really shape the world around us, kind of like unlocking that hidden brain power, right?
Exactly. And Dr. Murphy's work is a great place to start. He goes deep into how the conscious and subconscious minds actually work together, and more importantly, how we can use that to make real changes.
So to start with, like, how does he explain that whole conscious versus subconscious thing? I feel like I hear those terms all the time.
Yeah, me too. It can be a little confusing, right?
Totally.
Well, he uses a bunch of different terms, actually,
Mm.
like objective and subjective, waking and sleeping, even male and female.
Ah, interesting.
But the basic idea is that we have these two different parts of our minds that are always talking to each other.
Okay, so can you give me an example? Like, how do they actually work together?
Sure, think about learning something new, like how to play the piano. At first, you're consciously thinking about every note and every finger movement, but as you keep practicing, your subconscious starts to take over and make it automatic.
Oh, yeah.
So eventually you're playing without having to, think about every little thing.
So my conscious mind is kind of like the student, and my subconscious is like the master who's been practicing for years.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And the really wild thing is that your subconscious isn't just like for skills and
Yeah.
stuff. It's running a lot of your life in the background. Breathing, digestion, habits, emotional responses, all that.
Really?
It takes whatever your conscious mind focuses on and turns it into reality.
Wow, that's a pretty wild idea.
Yeah.
Like that my thoughts and beliefs are actually shaping my world without me even knowing it.
Exactly. And that brings us to one of the most important things Dr. Murphy talks about, the power of suggestion.
Okay, so what's that all about?
Well, there are two types. Autosuggestion, which is what we tell ourselves, and then heterosuggestion, which are suggestions that come from other people.
Okay, I think I get that.
Yeah.
So what's an example of how a suggestion can like actually shape our reality?
Okay, so Dr. Murphy tells this story that's actually pretty intense about a man who always said that he would give his right arm to see his daughter get better from some illness.
Oh, wow.
And sadly, he actually ended up losing his arm in an accident. It's like his subconscious mind took him literally.
That's heavy.
It's definitely a powerful example of how, we need to be really careful about what we're putting out there.
Okay, yeah. Now I'm really starting to see why it matters, what I'm thinking about all the time. Can we talk about how suggestion can work in a positive way too?
Of course. Of course. One of the most inspiring examples is Dr. Murphy's own experience where he actually healed himself from a sarcoma, a type of tumor.
Seriously.
Yeah, by tapping into what he calls the creative intelligence
Yeah.
within his subconscious.
So he was like basically convincing his subconscious mind that he was healthy.
Exactly. And he gives other examples of people having these amazing healings by consciously choosing thoughts of, harmony and health. So the takeaway is that your subconscious can be this incredibly powerful ally in healing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's all about replacing that fear and worry with those positive beliefs.
Okay, so I'm starting to get this, but how does this work for other things in life, like wealth and success?
Yeah, good question. Dr. Murphy has a lot to say about that, too. He believes that wealth is actually a subconscious conviction, not just about saying, affirmations or whatever.
Okay.
It's about really believing that abundance is like your birthright. He talks about this man who went from being totally broke to a vice president just by constantly thanking God for his riches.
So he was like reprogramming his mind to expect abundance.
Totally. And his life just like caught up to that belief.
Yeah.
So the main point is to build what he calls a wealth consciousness, believing in your worth and expecting abundance.
That's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
It makes you think about like what messages we might be sending our subconscious about money without realizing it.
Totally. Are we holding ourselves back?
Right.
But before we get into those limiting beliefs, let's switch gears a bit and talk about another big area where the subconscious plays a huge role, our relationships.
So we've talked about healing and wealth. What about finding love? Can our subconscious mind help us attract the right partner?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All these principles apply to relationships too.
Yeah, that makes sense. If our thoughts can shape our health and our finances, why not our love life?
Exactly. He tells this great story about a woman who was looking for a very specific kind of partner.
Oh, okay.
But for years, she kept finding the same kind of guy, like the kind of guy who just wasn't right for her.
Oh, I've been there.
But once she let go of all those negative patterns and started picturing her ideal partner, guess what?
What?
She met him.
Seriously?
Yeah. So it's not just about wishing for love. It's about, like, having that clear picture and really believing it's possible.
So we have to believe it to see it.
Yeah. And it's not just for attracting new partners either.
Yeah.
Dr. Murphy talks about maintaining harmony in your current relationships,
Okay.
the importance of forgiveness and letting go of resentment.
Yeah, holding on to anger just creates so much like negative energy.
Exactly. It really does. He gives an example of a man who was super guilty about cheating on his wife and ended up having all these physical problems because of it.
Wow, that's intense.
It is. It's a good reminder that all that unresolved stuff can actually hurt us, not just our relationships.
So what's the solution? Like, how do we cultivate more love,
Yeah.
more harmony?
Dr. Murphy suggests that we start by just like projecting love and peace and goodwill toward our partner.
Okay.
It's simple, but actually very powerful.
So those positive feelings can change the whole relationship.
Yeah, exactly. You're setting a new tone,
Gotcha.
a new vibration that you can both tune into.
Okay, so instead of focusing on what's wrong, we focus on what we want to create.
Right. You're basically giving your subconscious the blueprint for a better connection.
I like that. But what about fear? I know I've totally self-sabotaged because of fear before.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Murphy talks about fear a lot. He believes it's just a negative thought that can be overcome by faith and confidence.
So how do we shift our mindset from that fear to faith?
He gives this example of a medical student who was terrified of taking exams,
Okay.
but he used visualization to imagine himself succeeding.
Okay.
And you know what? He aced them.
So he was like reprogramming his mind to believe he could do it.
Exactly.
Oh.
Like giving your subconscious new instructions.
That's incredible. Are there any other techniques we can use?
Well, Dr. Murphy's really big on action. He says,
Yeah.
do the thing you're afraid to do.
So like facing our fears.
Exactly.
If-
But taking action, you prove to yourself that the fear was like unfounded a lot of the time.
Right, right.
Plus, you build confidence in the process.
I love it. Okay, so far we've covered healing, wealth, relationships, overcoming fear. What else does Dr. Murphy talk about?
He also talks about aging.
Oh, interesting. Most of us associate aging with decline, but it sounds like he has a different perspective.
Totally. He challenges the idea that getting older means getting weaker,
Okay.
less capable. He has so many examples of people doing amazing things in their later years.
Like who?
He talks about Cato, who learned Greek at 80. Scientists who are still making huge discoveries in their 80s and 90s.
That's incredible. So it's not really about age, it's about how we view it.
Exactly, our mindset. He believes the potential for growth is always there no matter what.
So what does he suggest for staying, youthful as we age?
He talks about staying curious, trying new things, and tapping into that eternal life force inside all of us.
It sounds like he's saying age is really just a number. Like it's our beliefs and attitudes that matter most.
Yeah, totally. And he encourages people to really challenge those limiting beliefs they might have about getting older,
Okay.
and replace them with positive affirmations instead.
Like, well,
Things like, I am youthful, vibrant, and full of energy, that kind of thing.
I love that. It's about choosing those thoughts that support us no matter how old we are. But what about those like physical changes that happen as we age? Can we really influence those with our minds?
Well, Dr. Murphy believes we have more control over our physical health than we think. He says aging isn't just about like genetics or time. It's also about our thoughts and beliefs and lifestyle choices.
So like if we take care of ourselves and stay positive, we can actually slow down the aging process.
That's the idea. He's big on things like healthy eating, exercise, managing stress.
Yeah, makes sense. Those are important at any age, really.
And he suggests that we can even use the power of our subconscious mind to support healing and rejuvenation.
So we could use visualization and affirmations to help our bodies stay healthy.
Exactly. By focusing on thoughts of health and vitality and longevity, we're creating a blueprint for our bodies to follow.
This whole deep dive has been amazing. I'm starting to see how much power we have to shape our lives, from our health to our relationships to like our finances and even how we age.
That's what's so cool about Dr. Murphy's work. It reminds us that we're not just victims of circumstance.
Yeah.
We actually have the power to create the reality we want.
Okay, so as we wrap up, what's like the one key takeaway you want listeners to remember?
I would say remember that you are the architect of your life. Your thoughts and beliefs are the building blocks. Choose them wisely.
That's a great message to end on. Thanks for taking us on this deep dive into the subconscious mind. It's been fascinating.
My pleasure.
And to all our listeners, keep exploring this stuff. Put these principles into practice and see what amazing things you can create.